Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Pepper.
And today we're going to do our first impressions on...
Under Falling Skies.
Ooh.
An alien-themed game, Alien Invasion, which I think it might be our only alien invasion, unless you include the alien civilization in Tapestry.
That's true. That could be considered the same thing. It'd be similar, but maybe not quite.
Okay.
This one's a little bit different than a majority or all of
Pretty much
our
all
other
of our
games.
games. This is a solo-only game,
Mm-hmm.
which I think you've said that you don't know why that you couldn't you could probably play it multiple people at once, but I think with the win-lose condition, that would kind of be hard to really decide a winner if you were doing that, or maybe cooperative would work a little better.
Yeah, possibly. I suppose whoever finished first, then you could just play another game of it until someone, whatever happens, till the tie is broken. But no, this one I thought would be a little bit more up your alley, being a solo-only game.
Solo gamer of our group.
The solo gamer of our group. I don't typically play too many solo games, but if I was going to play them most of the time, I think I'd prefer something that's on the shorter side.
Yep.
Probably only an hour tops,
Yep.
and I think this fits into that category. I'm not saying I wouldn't play other stuff, and maybe if I got into it more, I'd be more willing to do that, but I think I just prefer, I'm not saying you prefer solo games, but I enjoy playing non-solo, I think, a little bit more. But anyway, this game, how did you, I guess, what were your thoughts on the game, or what were you hoping for in this game?
Well, what I hope for in any solo game, I prefer usually playing against the game itself and not against an automa, because I just feel like that feels pretty static. There's not a lot of life in the game then, because you're just like, oh, place a worker here or whatever. I like it when the game kind of does negative things to me, and I have to kind of race against time to win or defeat whatever the game is, similar to Pandemic, which I enjoy quite a bit. And just with the theme of this, that sounded like that would be right up that alley and be exactly what I'm looking for. So, and also looking beautiful. I had pretty high expectations for this one. Plus, I'd heard a lot of good things about it. It was nominated. Did it actually win the Solo Game of the Year? I believe it did for the Dice Tower Awards.
I think it did. I can't quite remember. I think it did, though.
I think it did because I predicted it, and I did end up winning our competition. So it's likely that it won.
It probably did. But yeah, I hadn't looked into it too much because it was solo.
Yep.
But I had seen more and more people posting about it and how much they were enjoying it. So I definitely looked into it more, mainly for you more, because I'm like, well, I know, like you said, I think a game that's designed to pretty much be against you versus like an Automa or something in just a normal game, maybe that also has a solo variant. So definitely a little bit different.
Yeah.
Where, like you said, I think it can work in a bunch of the cooperative games where you could have a solo. It feels probably pretty similar most of the time to what the game would be, where it doesn't feel too different.
Yeah, especially for us alpha gamers. We're controlling everything anyway.
Right. But I was hoping to play this one as well, and I think my expectations from it, I didn't have that high of expectations, but I guess I was thinking of it, I can't even remember what the name of the game actually was, but on the Nintendo 64, there was a game that was similar to this, where the aliens would come down and go, "Shoo," and then you'd try to shoot all of them, and you go through rounds or whatever of them coming down. So I was hoping if it gave me that sort of feel, that'd be interesting, because I know I did enjoy that when I played it. So that's kind of what I was hoping from it.
Yeah. I didn't even think of this. I didn't really know if you'd like it or not, but Because we did used to play that back in the day. Back in the day, like we were from.
Back in the day. We probably weren't around when it first came out. It was
Yes.
probably in like arcades and stuff.
Yes.
And it was originally played.
Yeah.
But back in our day when it was redone on the Nintendo 64, which is still quite a while ago.
Yeah, but that, and I know you kind of like the tower defense apps, and you love After the Empire. So I thought maybe that might actually hit that same note for you, possibly. So I thought maybe you might actually find something you're looking for here. But we will see.
Yes. So, well, yeah, and on a side note, I've only played this one time. You've played it.
I've played it maybe 10 times now.
Okay.
So I had
So
access
it's
to
not
it
quite
a lot
a first impression, but
earlier
still.
than you.
So yeah, you had set me up on I think it was all the easiest stuff,
Yes,
right?
just the base introductory game.
Okay. And so yeah, I found it interesting at how it worked, where you'd place the dice down on the bottom, and that would, depending on what you did, that would influence how good of an action you had down on the bottom. But it would also influence how far they came down. So the bigger your dice were, you usually got a better benefit from it. But at the same time, the aliens would come down. So the board is, I don't know how many long, but they'd come down really fast then.
Yes.
So I found that really interesting, kind of trying to determine how far you really wanted them to come down. And another thing that I found really cool was that the two of the dice are white, compared to the other ones being like a grayish. So when you place those white ones, you're able to re-roll the rest of them. So that gives you a little bit of a interesting push. It's a little bit of a push your luck, but it's also a way to kind of mitigate the dice rolling a little bit. As well.
I really like that. I think that was probably the perfect way to handle the amount of dice.
That might be probably the coolest mechanism in this game, I would say, to me, is also deciding, do I play the gray ones as they are now, or one or two of them, or do I re-roll them all to go for something completely different? Because you could have low gray ones, which on your top row, anytime you can take one that takes away one from the die, so it's one less movement that they'd come down. So if you just put the one or two up there, they're only moving 1 or 0 spots, which obviously if you can't get done what you want to get done, that could be just as good of a thing. That way they're not moving. But yeah, it's an interesting type of thing where you're getting good benefits and they're moving, just trying to figure that out. And then one of the actions allows you to pretty much blow them up if they're on. So another thing with the movement is trying to get them on these spots on the board that pretty much blow them up. I don't know if does that spot have a name?
I'm not sure exactly.
But if you can get them on those, you can,
Shoot
and you have
down.
a big enough die on the spaces, or a sum of dice, you can blow up every single one that's on a space that has that amount or lower.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool if you can get multiple on those spots.
Yeah, I know. In all of my plays, and you even had a really good one too, where you wiped out like 4 at once. And it's just so satisfying when they start really creeping down, and you're able to pull off something like that, and maybe clear even the whole board.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool as well. So this game definitely has a lot of cool things in it that are all kind of working together. But your main goal is to get up on this green track and get to the very top, which, what was that track considered? I just call it the green.
I always forget exactly what it's called. It is research track.
Oh, the research track. So yeah, as one of the actions you could do is pay energy to kind of go up on the number of dice, because each circle kind of has a value in it. So it's green circles up the side and kind of going up that. So yeah, during my game I had kind of started off by kind of going up there, and the things were getting down, and then I had that big round of killing
Yep.
4. So I'd kind of set myself up. I'm like, okay, now I can really go to town and put some big dice in the green ones, even though, that'll bring them down. I luckily had cleared enough away that I didn't take too much damage. I think I might have only taken 1 damage at that point. So I was just putting all these huge dice, and I ran way up the green track.
Up the track.
as the mothership is also coming down.
Yes.
Slowly, but surely. And then I had gotten to the point where I think there were 3 or 4 rounds left, and I had 1 spot to go, which was required 11 green.
Yep. And you had open a slot, so you're gonna need 5 and a 6, or a 6 and a 6, and you had your double green slot open, so you had to go there.
Yes.
With a 5 and a 6 at least.
Mm-hmm. And that's where it all went terribly wrong. I had 3 chances at it.
At this point, it was looking great. I'm like, okay, he's gonna win. That's great.
Yeah, I thought for sure. Well, not for sure. I had a pretty good feeling that I was going to win.
I mean, you should, with the amount of re-rolls.
Yes.
And they weren't that much of a threat. You had a lot of health left. So you were sitting in a really good spot.
I was. And then, I think, the first roll, because it's 5 dice, I think I had a 5 on a non-white. And then I'd placed the other white. Then I re-rolled. Didn't get a 5 or 6. So I placed the other white. Re-rolled. Didn't get a 5 or 6. So I couldn't get enough to do it.
Not only didn't you get it, but you wasted that 5 there in that spot.
Right.
And so then you weren't set up to even shoot them down because you weren't focusing on that.
Right. Because, I think that turn then all I really tried to do with those leftovers was try to get them to come down the least amount possible. Because I also think I had blocked up the spot where I could even shoot them. So, and I wasn't planning on shooting them, so I wasn't trying to put them in these spots in the first place.
Yeah.
And then the next round, I don't know that
I was actually pretty happy with that because I wanted a little tension. I didn't want him to run away with it. So I'm like, okay, he had one little failure of a round, but he'll get it this next time.
Right. And then I think I don't think I rolled anything over a 4 with the first roll, so I put one of the white die in and I re-rolled. I might have gotten a 5. I don't even remember if I got one of those. And then I re-rolled them again and didn't get the 5 or 6 again. And then I did the same thing in the third round. It was not... Well, actually, in that round, I had come down to... I had the 3... So I had to place both my white ones. I didn't have any 5s or 6s in the roll of 5 or the roll of 4. So I needed, at that point then, because it was the last round, I needed a 1, a 5, and a 6.
Yes.
And so I was just rolling them one at a time, and I rolled a 1. So I got that. And then I rolled the 5. So I got that, and then I didn't roll a 6 like I needed. So
if you would have, that would have been the most epic ending ever.
That would have been. But I think with that exciting ending, I think it bumped it up a little bit for me, and I think I'd give this one probably a 7.5. I think the only thing that really hurts it is I still don't know that I'd prefer to pick up like a solo game. If I was, if I didn't have anyone else to play with, this would definitely probably be a little higher, but in the grand scheme of games, I think it's probably a 7.5 for me. So it's a solid
good
score.
I mean, definitely for you playing a solo.
Yeah, it's a solid score. But yeah, it was exciting. Those last 3 rounds, it's kind of disappointing at the same time, but I think that added, having to try to get that added to the excitement of just hoping that I'd roll it. It's a little disappointing that I didn't. I think if I had rolled the 6, it really would have been an exciting ending. But
I've never seen the dice take control of a game that much.
Yeah, it's just ugly. It's the worst dice rolling I had all game. I was rolling pretty well, or pretty high numbers throughout probably all the rest of the game, and then it got to that where I actually needed them, and I could not roll them to save my life.
Yeah.
So I guess after that long explanation, how did you feel after your 10-ish plays or whatever?
10-ish plays. I really like the game. I'd probably put it more around a 9. Actually. because it was exactly what I was looking for. It's a race against time, fighting against the game, and it's not just the aliens coming at you and you taking actions would have been great, like just place a worker or do an action. But just the way they use the dice, in that the dice bring the aliens down, they affect how powerful your actions are. The re-rolling, not being able to place in the same column. It's just, you really have to maneuver and puzzle out how you want to do things. Because there's also effects on the board that can move the mothership possibly, or move in aliens to other columns. There's just a lot to factor in. And
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, even me being an expert at the game with 10 plays, I still find myself being like, oh my god, how did I not see that was going to happen if I placed that there? Yeah, you just really have to balance when you want to shoot them down, when you want to go up the I keep wanting to call it technology.
Research.
Research, yeah. And there's a whole campaign in the box. I don't know everything that comes in it. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a lot more variability that you can add to the game with different abilities you can have through certain things. And you can adjust the difficulty. Yeah, there's definitely a lot in the box, and I've liked everything that I've seen so far.
Nice. So yeah, that's definitely a high rating if you are typically a solo gamer and you haven't tried this one. I think that sounds like you'd definitely highly recommend it. I would
definitely recommend this one.
And I'm typically not a solo gamer, but I would recommend it as well, even to try if you're not usually one.
Yeah.
I don't know that you're going to all of a sudden turn into a solo gamer from it, but if this sounds like something you would enjoy, I think it's definitely worth giving it a play.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else not too much else about this game, I don't think, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting theme. I think it could definitely tell someone who's not a solo gamer kind of what it's about, and especially for you with the kind of dice worker placement, I think that's kind of a thing that you like, that was welcoming to the heavier gamer in you. Right. Yeah, I think that's probably what drew me in more about the game. Is I didn't expect that coming into it, and that was more than my expectations, I think, how those dice worked and trying to think ahead of, like you said, I don't think I had mentioned it, where you can only put one in each area or each column as well, so that added to the thinking into, do I put this here because then I block that action? Do I put it here? Yeah. It definitely that added another layer to it. So maybe I'd give it a 7.75, 8.
Just give it an 8, man.
I'll give it the 8. I'll give it the 8. Fine, you got me. I'll give it the 8 because I do like that quite a bit, and it is very.
Gonna get it to a 10 soon.
It has a similar feel to that tower defense feel as well. So yeah, I would recommend it as well.
There we go.
Oh boy.
You'll be a solar gamer. Solar gamer. Solar gamer. That fits.
It fits with the game. But no, if you've tried other solo games that maybe you've tried this and there's another one out there that you think is similar, or maybe we'd like because we like this one, definitely mention it in the comments below. Otherwise, if you have any questions on this one, you can ask in the comments as well. I'm sure Pepper would answer you and let you know about it if you have any further questions. He'll probably try to sell you on the game further, but you never know. You can see. And if you like this video, definitely give us a like. We'd really appreciate it. And you could even subscribe if you wanted to, but you don't have to. But I think that's everything we got on Under Falling Skies. What else do you got to say, Pepper?
As always, don't forget to keep on nibbling
on that content.